What advice would you give to someone who's considering or preparing for transplant?
You have to be sick enough to receive a lung transplant, but you have to be well enough to receive a transplant. And so you still have to be physically fit like this, I guess you can say, and you have to be mentally prepared for it also. And I think that that's very, very important.
Just keep your spirits up. And just keep on thinking that even though I said before I didn't think I was going to get a transplant, I kept on believing that one was out there for me and that it would come through for me. And so I just kept myself pretty occupied in the garden, and I just didn't sit around the house moping along, worrying about things. I just lived life as full as I could while I was waiting.
One of the most important things that we learned as we were moving forward is to be able to get more information about a transplant. And we probably should have outreached more than we did. So my suggestion is to people is to probe with your doctor and the doctors, but also to look for mentors, people that have already had a transplant, or just as important, caregivers, outreaching to caregivers to see how they met the challenges of taking care of a transplant patient.
First of all, ask the right questions, get your family involved, stay healthy. You have to stay healthy. One of the things that I did was I started this exercise regimen, the way that I decided to eat. You have to make major changes. Recognize your life will never be the same. You're not going to be that person you were before, and you have to accept that. You just make adjustments. But the decision is the right decision if you really want to continue being a meaningful part of your family and friends' lives.
If someone here is preparing for a transplant today, I would want them to know really how much support is here and how they will be aided every step of this process by the people who are here in all aspects of the process, from the nurses and the doctors and also the social workers. There could be a physical rehabilitation component for some people. There could be a spiritual component for some people, and it's all here. And it's, you should take advantage of it.
I would tell someone who's considering transplant that they should, explore as much as they're comfortable, do research, ask questions, and at the same time to really remember that their transplant experience will be uniquely their own, that they can't be attached to the outcome of another patient because we all have such different experiences. And for me, I really used the experiences that I felt were positive, and I tried to follow those, but I had my own struggles, and I just had to know that those were mine to get through.
I think the first thing I would say is really weigh your options, but I think it's important to look at it like in real situation. A lot of people feel like, they're scared of transplants. It's the unknown. There's a whole lot of things going on. But then if you're sick enough to need a transplant, then look at your situation as it is. If you can sustain that situation and be happy, then great. But for most people who need transplants, they can't. So it really comes down to almost a black or white decision for a lot of people. And there are risks with it, and there's a chance that you may or may not make it if you get the transplant. But I think for most people, I would say maybe try to pull back a little bit on emotion and really look at what's on the table. What's your medical condition, and what could it be if you survive the transplant, and what could it be in the future? For me, it wasn't so much of an emotional burden on should I do it or not. It was, do I need to do it? Can I sustain on medication? Which once I realized I couldn't, then the decision was made. The best thing I can tell people is to just allow yourself to feel whatever it is you feel. Because there's no handbook for this. There's no hidden recipe that everybody can follow. People come into the need for a transplant for various reasons, and they may need a week or two in the hospital, a month or two in the hospital post-transplant, who knows. And then after that, you're gonna have your experiences of trying to get back on your feet, facing your new reality, accepting that new reality. And it's hard. Again, like I said, when I went into mine, I wanted my life back, and I got portions of that back, but not all of it. I'm not 100% like I used to be, and there's some things that have changed, but also I learned a whole lot through that process, and a lot of my perspectives on a lot of issues have changed. So there's a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses to it too.
I think the most important advice that I can give someone regarding their preparation for transplant is to make sure that they have a committed team of caregivers. That, I think, saved my life. Because without my husband and my daughter, and my other daughter and my son, and all that goes with that, my church family, I don't think I would have made it. It just really takes an effort by a committed group of people, and I just can't stress that enough, that you really need to have people that care about you and that are in there for your best interests.
The advice, I think that for people who are going to have a transplant is to just follow what the medical team tells you to do. You have to become very stringent with following the rules, and don't try not to veer from those rules. I mean, every once in a while, I think I would like to have oysters on the half shell, but I know that I can't. So you just have to, just follow the rules. Take your medications the correct way. Don't decrease or increase anything. Do your blood work like you're supposed to do, and, keep your appointments.
The advice that I would give someone who's considering transplant, probably not to watch anything on the internet. Try and find someone that you can talk to about it. Maybe that's already been through it. Go to one of the support groups that they have at the clinic here at UCSF. The reason I wouldn't watch anything on the internet is because when I did, it just kind of gave me a false sense of what it was going to be like. When I came out of the transplant process, one of the ladies had said, or a few people did, that as soon as they woke up they could take this deep breath, but honestly it took me a good month before I could even take a deep breath at all. So you got to kind of condition the lungs and get them working, and I mean you haven't been able to breathe in so long, and so it took a good amount of time to take that first really, really deep breath.
The advice I would give somebody that's considering this process is just embrace it. Give up any feelings that you think you might have that you can control the situation. Trust what the doctors are telling you. UCSF, they are the experts in this process, and they will guide you every step of the way. So just don't fight it. And the other thing is more practical. I would advise someone to, if you're traveling from any distance, to get a fast track, because it does take away the stress of, what if I don't have money in my wallet to pay for the bridge? I would also advise that you set up something like a care page or a point person to advise your friends and loved ones of your progress. For women, I would advise that you pack in your suitcase a soft, non-wired front closure cotton bra. And if you can, get sort of a soft, warm, fuzzy pillow that you can hold and gives you a little comfort when you're trying to get out of bed and you can take with you on your walks.
I have 3 pieces of advice for people who are preparing for transplant. One that I found the most helpful to me was to think of it as a metaphor in terms of you're an adoptive parent, or you're a parent signing up to be to adopt a child. You have all of these people who don't know you, evaluating you on all aspects of your life, and making real, true decisions about your future life. And you don't know them. They don't know you. You don't know them. Your life will change immensely once the baby comes, but you don't know when, and you don't know exactly if it will happen. Another kind of adoption idea is you don't know what kind of bumps will be in the road, whether they're going to be big bumps or small bumps, or whether you'll be smooth sailing. And you'll be grateful. The second piece of advice I'd have for people preparing for transplant is to join a support group. UCSF has a wonderful in-person support group that meets once a month. There's also one on Facebook for lung transplantation. There's a lot of information that can be gained from both groups, and information to me is power. It can be a bit overwhelming. There's sad stuff. People talk about difficult issues and really hard things that they're going through, and that can be very concerning. But at least you are able to work through your own fears through them, and you're a little prepared for what might happen. The third thing, especially if you're a do-it-myself, like me, person, is to accept help and accept assistance, whether it's physical, spiritual, emotional, practical. People want to help you. People love you. I'm sorry. And they really want to help you. And let them. You'll appreciate it. For people who are considering, people that are preparing or considering, the doctors and nurses know the medicine, they know the surgical procedures, they know drugs, they know the experience of a lot of other people, but only you know you. And only you know whether or not you're not even necessarily strong enough, capable of going on this journey. It's hard. That said, I don't think anybody is presented with more difficulties than they're prepared to handle. So, just think through it, believe in yourself, and accept help.
Actually, a couple of things I think are kind of important. First of all, to me, is the commitment. And I mean, not just, hey, I think I'll do this. It's a commitment to really follow through with it. Prepare yourself physically with therapy, physical therapy, and make it, turn it into a job, that this is something you have to do. And if you take it half-heartedly, I think it's too easy to fail.
The advice I give someone going into a transplant would be to do their research, know some of the things that they're going to get themselves into as far as follow-up, medication, the best they could. But the other is to expect complications. If you're going to go through with this surgery, it will always have some level of complication, whether minor or serious. And it's easier to accept it if you know it's going to be coming than it is to be surprised later on down the road.